life and love. It's going to be a little rocky, a little bumpy along the way, but if you really squeeze the day, there's sure a lot of beautiful scenery along the way.
Today, we're honored to welcome Gina Keltner, an award-winning veteran of the entertainment industry at the iconic Grand Ole Opry. With 25 years of experience in talent booking and production at the Opry, her passion for music has not only shaped her career, but has also fueled an unwavering commitment to showcase the best in the industry. Discover how a childhood crush on Shaun Cassidy recently became a dream come true for her, and how her work has fostered the most amazing relationships and support team.
We're glad you joined us to hear these inspiring stories from older adults, people who have so much experience and words of wisdom to share, but are sometimes overlooked in society today. I'm Sally Hussey, the CEO of 50 Forward, a Nashville-based nonprofit. Our mission is to support, champion, and enhance the lives of those 50 and older.
And I'm Susan Sizemore, your guide through these beautiful conversations with those who are living life to the fullest and who know how to squeeze the day in their second chapter of life. Now, in my second chapter and encore career, I'm following my passion for sharing the stories of older adults with you and with the world. If you like what you hear, please rate and follow Squeeze the Day on your favorite podcast platform. Today's Squeeze the Day is brought to you by the All of Us Research Program from the National Institutes of Health. Learn how you can help change the future of health by participating in the program. Visit www.joinallofus.org to learn more. Join us to learn about Gina Keltner's journey, her experiences as a single mother, and the memorable moments that enrich her life. I'm excited to catch up with you. Welcome to Squeeze the Day.
Thank you. Thank you for thinking of me and having me.
It's so exciting to just catch up with people and watch what they're doing in the community and find ways to tell their story. And that's exactly why I wanted to reach out to you. We also share the same hairdresser, just kind of the inside girl secret. And she also said, oh my gosh, you've got to interview Gina. So here we are. So will you take us first through your journey from where you started at the Grand Ole Opry to your recent promotion and just share some highlights along the way?
Yes, well, as you know, the way I know you, Susan, is working with you at Dick Clark Productions, and we were working on a primetime TV series that got canceled. It was actually filmed here at the Opry House, and there was an inkling that that might be happening, so I had been pursuing any kind of job opportunities and just kind of had my ear to the ground. And believe it or not, I heard about this job at the Grand Ole Opry through an ad in the Tennessean, a classified ad. And so I thought, well, that will be easy. I can walk my resume up the hall. So I did. I turned it into the Opry office, and sure enough, our show got canceled. At the same time I was being asked to be interviewed for the Opry. I was originally hired as the assistant to the new general manager. I've always loved country music. That's why I moved to Nashville, was to pursue a career in country music. So very quickly, my role went from being an assistant to booking the shows. The general manager was off in meetings most of the day, and I just kind of said, hey, you just want me to do this for you. And so I've been assembling the Grand Ole Opry shows for quite some time now, and as the years have gone on, I have become much more involved in the booking of it, to where now I do all the booking for the Grand Ole Opry. It's been quite a journey. It's just been an incredible experience to get to know some of my musical heroes and as friends and colleagues. And the Opry, those floods and pandemics, we're a strong organization, and we have made a lot of lemons into lemonade, that's for sure. The show has always gone on.
That is such an amazing statement. And the fact that the show continues to go on, I'll share one quick kind of funny thing. Once, years ago, my husband played with one of the Opry members, and we were trying to get to the Opry. It was supposed to snow, and sometimes when it's supposed to snow in Nashville, you never know what's going to happen. Well, it started, and it took us probably 2.5 hours to get halfway between the Green Hills area and the Opry, and finally it was past his time to go on the stage. The Opry indeed went on, and we ended up at a local restaurant just trying to refuel and figure out how we were going to get back home. It was just one of those nights.
Snow days at the Opry, that is a whole different ball of wax. And man, I've got some great stories there as far as I think that one of my worksheets of just my show layout and all of my corrections and my changes throughout the day on a snow day lives in our archive somewhere, because you think you've got the show, and then you get one more phone call. Oh, I'm snowed in. I can't get out. And your criteria for who is going to be on the Opry completely changes on a snow day. It becomes who has a 4-wheel drive, who lives nearby. You start being very creative.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you to give us a snapshot of a day in the life of the work at the Opry. Is that even possible?
Well, there are no 2 days that are the same, I can tell you that. I might start my day thinking that, oh, today's the day I'm going to start working on this particular special show that we're planning in September. And then the next thing I know, someone will have to cancel. So at that point, I'm always trying to get ahead, but then at the same time, we have shows going on constantly that are going to be needing my more immediate attention. So, my day is just a bunch of juggling, of reaching out to artist reps, to looking online at artist schedules, just trying to find that one little hole in their schedule where they might be able to swing by and do the Opry, and doing whatever I have to do for the most immediate shows, but then also trying to get ahead and look forward.
I want to hear a little bit about booking Shaun Cassidy for his Opry debut. Will you tell us a bit about that?
Oh, man, that was just incredible. During the pandemic, rediscovered Shaun Cassidy on social media. I'm a child of the 70s. Like most little girls of the 70s, I had his posters all over my walls. So then I discovered the adult Shaun Cassidy, and he is just such an incredible human. He's always just lifting everyone up. His social posts, if you don't follow him, you need to follow him. He's just so inspiring, loves his family, loves his work, loves his fans. And so that just got me thinking in the back of my mind. Well, and also he had started to perform again as well during the pandemic. And the Opry, I know we're known for our country music, but we've also had, acts like the Beach Boys and George Thorogood and Rita Wilson, Leslie Jordan. We've had those out-of-the-box artists that are also well-received. So I started telling Dan Rogers, my boss and friend, I think that I'm going to ask Shaun Cassidy to do the Opry. And I just wanted to see his reaction. And he's like, okay, that sounds good to me. I know in one interview that I had, someone asked me who my dream booking would be. And I said, Shaun. Well, it was 2 years later and I hadn't asked Shaun. I don't know why I was stalling. I don't know. Of course, I had no idea if he even knew what the Grand Ole Opry was. He's not from this world that I knew of. So my mother, God bless her, she had saved this little tiny screen printed T-shirt that I wore as a 10-year-old with Shaun's picture on it. So one night at the Opry, when our photographer was here, I said, I need you to take a picture for me. So I took a photo of me holding that little T-shirt standing in front of the Opry barn. And so then I composed my heartfelt pitch to Shaun, and I included that photo whenever I reached out to him. And then I believe it was like within 30 minutes, I heard from his rep saying, oh, I'm sure he would be honored. And I was so thrilled. So we scheduled it for this past December, and that 10-year-old Gina who had Shaun Cassidy's posters on my walls. Fast forward, little Gina is booking the Grand Ole Opry and having, her first crush on the show. And it was just surreal for me. It just brought back so many memories. And that morning I told Alexa, play Shaun Cassidy. And I couldn't believe, the music that I was hearing and how it immediately came back to me. I didn't realize I even had that whole album still memorized. And as I heard every song, it just brought me back to a simpler time. And it was just a very, very sweet day.
It's a great story. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk a little bit about your roots in education.
Well, as I said, I'm from Southwest Missouri. I was raised on classic country music and Elvis, both of which I still love. And, I really had an idyllic childhood, very sweet upbringing from good, solid Christian parents. And my life was always filled with music. As a child, Mom and Dad took me to a zillion, what seemed like a zillion Statler Brothers concerts, and their choice of shows. And then as I got older, and in high school and college, I loved the group Alabama. I went to so many Alabama concerts, and just that era of country music, and just from going to those concerts, realized that there were so many people behind the scenes that it takes to make that whole show run. So at that point, that's whenever I really started thinking, well, maybe I could use my degree, my business degree, in country music. So the day after Christmas in 1989, my parents moved me down to Nashville in a U-Haul. Didn't even have a place to live yet, just to leave me here and pursue my dreams. And, I think I was probably just young enough and naive enough to not worry about that at the time. I can't believe I did it looking back, but man, I'm so glad I did.
Oh, yeah. You've got a fascinating story. So I want to talk a little bit about your personal life. We've talked a lot about Gina the professional, and I want to talk a little bit about Gina the single mother. I know that you have to balance a demanding career with parenthood, and I'm just curious how you navigate those responsibilities, and if you've got any advice for other people who are facing the same.
Especially as a single parent, I learned right away that, I've got to take care of myself first. I remember when my daughter was a baby, and I know that a lot of parents let their children sleep with them, and that's perfectly fine. I totally respect that. But I knew for me, I could not do that I had to have my sleep, that she was depending on me and only me. So I think it's just really important. It's so easy to put our kids first, but we've got to be good for them. So we've got to remember to take care of ourselves and ask for help. And that's advice I'm giving to others and reminding myself. It's very hard for me to ask for help, but I'm very blessed that I do have a village that roots for me and my daughter. And, I remember, I believe it was a lady at church one day. She wanted to help me. And I said, I just hate to ask you for that. And she said, do not steal my joy. Let me do this. It's joyful for me to be able to help you. It helps my heart. So I try to remember that.
I think it's important to remind people that there are blessings in giving, and we might not think of it. It might feel more like you're asking for help rather than giving someone the benefit of being the giver. I want to talk a tiny bit, too, about your daughter. Being a single mom, you adopted your daughter from Ethiopia, and I can't even imagine what that event had to be for you and for her. And I just want you to talk a little bit about really how that's influenced your life, your perspective on work and life, and especially in an industry as volatile and dynamic as the entertainment business.
I remember being on that plane going to Ethiopia to bring my daughter home. And I've always said that plane ride was like my labor, where suddenly, I've heard mamas talk about how when they're in the labor and they're like, oh, I'm not ready for this yet. No, don't let the baby come out. And that was kind of how I was feeling as well, as far as, oh my gosh, am I ready for this? So my labor, I guess, was an 18-hour plane ride to Africa, but she has been completely life-changing for me, and I'm so, so grateful that I followed the desire of my heart. And there's no doubt she was meant to be mine. Is it easy? No, it is not easy, but she is completely worth it. She comes first, and that's just something that everyone has to realize. Sometimes I worry whether she realizes that, because, my job does demand so much of me as well. But I've had to miss many opportunities, as far as, I get an invitation to a different party or a different showcase every night. But, at nighttime, I put on my mama cap, and that's where I need to be. That's just a part of that balancing act that you have to juggle as best as you can.
So do you have advice for other single parents or any other individuals who might be thinking about adoption?
Well, it is not for the faint of heart. Adoption is a roller coaster ride. You just have to hang on and put a lot of faith in the process. But I really do believe, if God plants that desire in your heart, then He's going to carry you through. And I understand the fear involved, because I was there. There were times I was very afraid that it wasn't going to happen for me. But I just continued to trust and pray a lot and lean on my friends and family for support as I was waiting. And anybody who wants that and who desires that, I would totally support doing it. Don't let anything hold you back.
So do you have any proud mama moments that you want to share with us?
So many proud moments. She makes me so proud. As you know, she's a beautiful child on the outside. She won the Nashville Parent Photo Contest one year. So, as a toddler, it was so much fun to see her beautiful face on that magazine all month long, every time you went in the supermarket. But, I'm most proud of just who she is on the inside. Some of the sweetest things that she's said along the way. I remember when she was just tiny, and she said, Mama, you could be my mommy even if you were brown.
Oh.
And the observations that she made as a little tiny girl, but she just has such a good heart. This past week, I'm a proud mama. She made high school cheerleading. I can't believe we're going into that season of high school. She's going to be a class officer. And just everywhere I go, people talk about just how she shines a light. She's just a light for everyone that she comes in contact with. And that makes me most proud. She's going to just rock this world with her social skills. I have to remind her not to use those social skills so much in class these days. But she's just a beautiful person.
So do you think some of your experiences as a parent have shaped your approach to talent booking or production? Has there been some kind of cross-pollination there?
I think when you become a parent, you're suddenly responsible for this other human being. And you know that they're watching you. For me, it's just made me more focused on, my work ethic, being the very best influence I can be for her. Certainly right now, it's hard to believe it's really time to be thinking about what she might want to do with her life, but talking to her about the fact that, I hope she sees that what I do is something that I truly love and that I'm passionate about, and that I want her to find her passion, and that I will support her all the way with whatever that passion is. So I think it just causes you to to step it up because you know you're influencing this other human and they're watching.
Speaking of the influence and watching, does she come to the Opry much? Have you have any kind of behind-the-scenes stories or memorable moments, maybe with her and other performers?
Oh, yes. I mean, she grew up around the Opry. Now that she's a teenager, maybe not so much, but everyone, just embraced my situation as a single mama and understood that sometimes I had to bring her along. And just fun things. I remember on Valentine's Day, she made little Valentine's cards and was handing them out to everybody. And she was unfazed by any kind of stardom. And I remember her walking up to Vince Gill and pulling his jacket, and he looks, down, and of course he melted. I mean, when she's sitting there, handing him a Valentine, and sweet moments like that. She's had a lot of fun behind the scenes.
That makes me want to ask you and know a little bit more about the Opry and its desire to expand, because I feel like as the Opry has worked from its traditional roots and to still honor them, what's happening now to kind of expand that audience? Because I think what you just touched on seems like it's right in that vein.
It's always had to be ever evolving. I mean, next year we are going to be celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Opry. And for it to have gone on for 100 years, it has to be evolving. And so while we recognize and want to present today's hottest country artist, we also are responsible and honored to be carrying on the tradition of our legends. I would love it if everyone could just come to the Opry with a cleansed musical palette and then just be open to tasting all the different flavors of country music and all the different genres and generations that our show presents.
That's a beautiful statement. And I do feel like when people go to the Opry for the first time, they don't really know what they're going to experience, because it really is set up like a radio program and, the fast pace of the change.
Yes, it is. It's the world's longest running live radio show. So even if you're not presently here, you can watch it from all over the world now. It used to be just on the radio, but now you can listen to it on the internet. So the Opry is a 2-hour show, and it includes 4 half-hour segments. And usually there are 7 to 8 acts that fill that 2-hour time frame. So for an ideal show for me to put on, it's going to include today's hottest country music stars along with Country Music Hall of Fame legends. I'm going to throw in some bluegrass and some comedy, maybe an Americana artist, maybe a Christian artist, bluegrass, a whole sampling of the country music fabric. If you're listening to something that you don't particularly enjoy, just hang on. You're only going to have to listen to 2 or 3 songs, and then we'll be on to the next one.
I want to ask you about a value that our agency, 50 Forward, has. One of our values is nurturing and promoting a compassionate team and community that supports, honors, and values all older adults without judgment. How does this resonate with you in your life?
Well, certainly at the Opry, we honor that. Just as I've said, I mean, how many shows do you see where, for instance, tonight on our show, you'll see Charlie McCoy. He's 84 years old. And then tonight on the same stage, you're going to see Dylan James making his Opry debut at the age of 27. So the opportunity for those two to hopefully cross paths probably might not have happened otherwise, and to learn from each other, to support each other. And then we have, in the front of the auditorium, so many of our hosts and hostesses are retired older adults that have that hospitable personality and make you feel welcome the minute that you enter the door. And so that's another way that we embrace the older adults.
If this conversation is motivating you to squeeze the day, learn more about getting involved in your home community to deliver food, to volunteer, or to just get active. If you'd like to learn more, visit 54.org. That's FIFTYFORWARD.org. There's so much to gain by helping others. Now, let's get back to our show. So I've got a quick round of questions that we call our speed round, where just a 1 or 2 word answer. If you'd like, I'd like to ask you what you would tell your younger self.
I would say probably have more fun. I was the older child, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I truly don't recall my parents putting pressure on me, but I was just always focused on my academics, and I think I kind of look back and wish I had maybe not taken life quite as seriously as I did, and maybe had a bit more fun along the way.
So how do you stay motivated and healthy?
Well, that one is always a challenge for me. I'm lucky to live near a greenway, a beautiful park. So whenever I can, when the weather's right, I walk. I try to drink lots of water, and I definitely try to get my sleep.
What do you do in your spare time?
Well, between Opry and my daughter, life is very full. Spare time is usually spent on her school and church activities, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love to thrift shop. I believe anyone who knows me would tell you that I can stretch a penny farther than anyone they know. And I, in turn, really love to give back with my finds. I'm in a leadership class this year that's based in our community, and I'm learning a lot about our community and how there are so many needs. There are schools who have clothing closets, and there are blessing boxes in our neighborhood where you can put, non-perishable food for people who need it. And I am so incredibly blessed, and I enjoy just passing that down to others and hopefully giving them some hope and some relief.
I'm always curious to know, is there one piece of advice that at the time you might have learned from a parent or an older adult that you might have thought was silly, but it rings true in your everyday life?
I'll go back to my love for Elvis and how songs, how music can stay with you. And I remember one song of his, it was titled, "True Love Travels on a Gravel Road." And I don't know why. I mean, I remember as a child thinking, what in the world does that mean? But, of course, now I can look back at that, and especially looking back at my life and realize, life and love is going to be a little rocky, a little bumpy along the way. But if you really seize the day, there's sure a lot of beautiful scenery along the way.
That's good advice. And then I want to know, Gina, what it is that you do to squeeze the day.
Well, my life is crazy busy, especially in today with social media and with these devices. The one time when I am by myself and no one can bother me is in my car. So I really try to squeeze that time in my car and take advantage of that time, whether it's listening to an audiobook or calling my parents, or, there are days where you just let it be about you and you crank up that music, you crank up the Do Run Run, and you belt out Shaun Cassidy as loud as you can, and just take that moment to be grateful for your amazing life.
So I want to thank you, Gina, for joining us today and for sharing your inspiring story with us.
Thank you for having me, Susan. Thanks for thinking of me, and it was great catching up with you.
And as I leave you today, I'm sending you a big squeeze. Until next time. Squeeze the Day is made possible through listeners like you. If you enjoy this podcast, please help us continue to share inspiring stories of older adults and visit 54.org. That's FIFTYFORWARD.org to make a contribution. And now I challenge everyone listening to go squeeze the day.